What's up, everybody? Sean back with you guys for week number 2 of the NFL season. Here to give you guys my against the spread plays, my daily fantasy advice, and then my free agent lineup to see what kind of free agents are available on the waiver wire and how they might fare this week. All right, so first I'm going to get into a recap of how I did last week. Then I'm going to go into the ATS picks. Then I'm going to go into the daily fantasy picks and follow it up with the free agent picks, okay? So if you want to go ahead and just skip ahead in the video to the certain part that you're interested in, go ahead and do that. But without further ado, let's get started. On my against the spread plays last week, I went 3-3 on my 1-star plays, 1-2 on my 2-star plays, 0-2 on my 3-star plays, 1-3 on my 4-star plays, and finally 1-0 on my 5-star plays. So undefeated on the 5-star plays. So the middle there was pretty poor. I mean, between my 2, 3, and 4-star plays, I went a total of 2-7. So obviously that is not good. And then my 1-stars were split down the line, 3-3, so I finished 50% there. Luckily, I did get my 5-star play with the Pittsburgh Steelers -3. So I was 1-0, as they say, for the 5-star play. So that was good. So in terms of my fantasy players, my daily fantasy players, so I gave you guys 3 quarterbacks, 3 running backs, 3 wide receivers, and 3 tight ends. So on DraftKings, if you took my quarterback suggestions, we have Derek Carr, who scored 25.36 points, Aaron Rodgers, who scored 23.56 points, and Andrew Luck, who scored 38.5 points. So he was the best of the bunch of the quarterbacks I suggested. If you took the running backs I suggested, Carlos Hyde scored 23.3, Doug Martin got 14.6, and David Johnson got 23.2. So the running backs, I hit on 2 out of 3. Quarterbacks, you could say I hit on all 3, really. I mean, over 23 points for Rodgers. That was the lowest I scored. Not bad at all. Of course, on the running back situation there, Martin at 14.6, you'd like to get a little more production out of a running back than that. So if you took Martin on any of your plays, you probably suffered a little bit with that one. If you took Hyde or Johnson, you were okay, because your goal is to really get over 20 points for any player you take, and then you're kind of good there. Okay, so wide receivers, I told you to take Amari Cooper, who scored 24.7. I told you to take T.Y. Hilton, who scored 13.9. And I told you to take Antonio Brown, who scored 35.6. Obviously, out of this bunch here, Brown was the clear winner, as you probably could have anticipated. Brown is a fantasy beast. I had him last year. He led me to the championship in my fantasy league. Obviously, Hilton was our bust here, despite the Indianapolis Colts scoring a lot of points on that Detroit defense. He wasn't the one to get the scores. They went to the tight ends mostly for the touchdowns, and the other receivers got a lot of work as well. But 13.9 isn't the worst. It's not going to sink you, but obviously, like I said, you want to at least get over 20 points, so that did not happen there for Hilton. And finally, the tight ends. I told you guys, Zach Ertz, he netted 11.8. Jordan Reed, who netted 13.4. And finally, Kobe Fleener, who got a whopping 1.6. He was a total letdown and bust in a game that's similar to the Indianapolis game. That was a shootout. There was lots of catches and touchdowns to go around. However, Brandon Cooks and Willie Snead seemed to take all of those touches and touchdowns in that game. So I kind of failed horribly on the tight ends, to be quite honest. I mean, none of them scored over 20 points. My top guy was Reed at 13.4, and that's just not good numbers there. And Fleener was a total bust, my worst pick of the week by far, scoring in at that 1.6. I think he's going to improve moving forward. I don't think he's going to be that bad moving forward fantasy-wise, but I certainly wouldn't take him this week in any DraftKings plays. All right, and finally, we're going to get into the all free agent team. Again, these are free agents that were available in my fantasy league. It's a 12-team, half-a-point PPR league. And these guys were all available last week. And if I had to put together a team of only free agents, this is the team from that league that I would have put together. Joe Flacco scored 12.3 points. Terrence West got 4.8. Zach Zenner netted 0. Ted Ginn Jr. got 3 points. Devonta Adams got 12.5. Kyle Rudolph got 8.5. Matt Bryant got 10. And Tampa Bay's defense scored 3. Terrell Pryor as our flex got 8.3, leading us to a total of 62.4 points. Not bad for a team of misfit free agents, but not really enough to really win a game, I would say, in the league. And there was a couple guys, obviously, that I could have put in there that would have performed a little bit better. Alex Smith was a free agent in this league, so was Carson Wentz. Jalen Richardson, but nobody really saw that coming when he had that 1 yard or 1 rush for 75 yards. So obviously I missed on some of those. Waiver wire was today. A lot of guys went. Tyrell Williams went. Jalen Richardson, I picked him up because I have Latavius Murray. So a couple guys went in waiver wire today. Nelson Aguilar was also in there. So a couple guys went, but we'll see what we can put together for this week, and we'll get to that at the end of the video. So that kind of recaps my first week one of the NFL season and how I did. So without further ado, let's get into the picks for week number 2. All right, for week number 2, my one-star plays. I like the New York Jets, who are currently a pick'em over Buffalo. I like the Detroit Lions -5.5 over the Tennessee Titans. I like Kansas City +2.5 over Houston. And I like Dallas +2.5 over Washington. My 2-star plays are going to be San Francisco, who is +13.5 over Carolina. Frankly, that's just too many points for, quite frankly, what is an unknown team at this point in my estimation. Is San Francisco better than we might think they're going to be with Chip Kelly at the helm? Blaine Gabbert looked pretty good last week on Monday Night Football, and so did Carlos Hyde. Are they going to be better and outperform our expectations, or are the Rams just really that bad so they looked better than they're going to look against Carolina, who is undoubtedly one of the best teams in the game? But again, for 13.5 points, I'm going to go with San Francisco here. I like Philadelphia, who was +3 over Chicago. Side note, Carson Wentz looks like an amazing quarterback. I know it's just against the Browns, but he made some high-level throws, 2 of which came on that first drive. He looked very poised, and this is a guy who played at Division II and also didn't get much work in the preseason at all. He had 1 game and then was injured, messed his ribs up pretty bad. So what a showing from Carson Wentz. Obviously, you try not to get too excited, but I'm from Philadelphia, and we're definitely excited. The city's excited, but obviously it was against the Browns, so we'll see what he can do moving forward here. All right, and now we get into our 3-star plays. I like the New Orleans Saints, who are +4.5 to defeat the New York Giants. I like Pittsburgh -3 over the Cincinnati Bengals. Tampa Bay is +6.5. I like them to cover that over Arizona. Arizona might win that game outright, but I like Tampa Bay to cover. We got Indianapolis +6 over Denver. I like them to cover again. They might not win, but I think they'll cover. Jacksonville +3 over San Diego. We got our 4-star games. I like Baltimore -7 over Cleveland. And that was close to being a 5-star game. If Robert Griffin III was going to be starting the game, I probably would have made that a 5-star game. But since we've got Robert Griffin out, and I believe it's going to be Josh McCown taking over, just because there's an unknown, I don't like to go ahead and make that a 5-star play because of that. So I'm just keeping it at a 4-star. I like New England -6.5 over Miami. They looked great last week, even not having Gronkowski and Brady and Deion Lewis. On offense, they still looked pretty good. So I like New England here, and Miami didn't look like anything spectacular against Seattle. So I like New England -6.5. Seattle and LA, as of last I looked, there was no spread available. It said it wasn't available. So obviously I like Seattle over LA. I imagine that point spread is going to be pretty high. So, I can't really say with certainty right now what that point spread is because they didn't have it available at the time. But again, I do like Seattle over LA. I like Oakland -4.5 over Atlanta. And then finally, we get to our 5-star play this week. I like Green Bay, who is -2 over Minnesota. And, they're either going to be rolling with Sean Hill at quarterback, or they're going to be rolling with Sam Bradford, who's got, pretty much a week and a half to learn the playbook. So definitely like Minnesota there, -2. All right, now let's take a look at my daily fantasy plays. These are guys that I like to have big weeks this week in daily fantasy. So if you can grab these guys, you should definitely take a look and try to get them on your teams. My first play is going to be Derek Carr for quarterbacks. My second play, Drew Brees. And my third play, Blake Bortles. Running backs this week, I like C.J. Anderson, Ezekiel Elliott, and Lamar Miller. For wide receivers, I like Amari Cooper, Willie Snead, and DeAndre Hopkins. And finally, for tight ends, I like Julius Thomas, Greg Olsen, and Jordan Reed. And to end things here on my all-free agent team, we have quarterback Joe Flacco yet again going that route. He is owned in 24% of Yahoo leagues. Our running backs, it was pretty bare in terms of what was available in my league here. So I had to go with Tavares Cadet from the Saints, who was owned in 1% of leagues. And I had to go with Sean Drawn from the San Francisco 49ers, who is owned in 4% of leagues. So a little rough at the running back spot there, but Cadet could get some receptions out of the backfield there in that game, which I expect to be a high-scoring affair. And Sean Drawn could get some work on the ground. He did score a touchdown on Monday Night Football. Receivers, I like Ted Ginn Jr., who is 29% ownage rate in the league. Cole Beasley, who is 8% owned in the league. And Dak Prescott really liked to go to him. I think he had like 8 or 9 receptions last week. Tight end, I like Kyle Rudolph, who was owned in 25% of leagues. Nick Folk is going to be our kicker, who was owned in 36% of leagues. Baltimore's defense going against Josh McCown is going to be my, and that inept Cleveland offense is going to be my defense for the week at 27% ownage rate. And finally, we've got Brashard Perryman, who is owned in 4% of leagues going into our flex spot. All right, guys, so that's going to do it for week number 2. Hope you guys enjoyed. Let me know in the comments down below if you want, whether you agree with the picks, whether you agree with the daily fantasy plays, what your daily fantasy plays are, any of that stuff. And, I appreciate you guys checking out the video, and I'll see you guys next week.